good evening, listeners. Good evening, viewers of TDN Media and This Week in Interview. Welcome to this week's episode of This Week in Interview with your host, Anthony Drago. Tonight, we are jumping into culture. It's carnival season. And so we are going to be spending some time just talking about carnival and the role that carnival plays in the lives of Caribbean people. We talk about the different calypsos in Dominica. And although we're talking Dominican, I think most of what we talk about is applicable in almost all the islands. So those of you who from St. Vincent and Trinidad and those guys, I'm not leaving you out tonight. We're talking carnival, and when we talk carnival, all Caribbean people identify. So grab your drink, share the live, let everybody know that we are on. And when you come back, I'm going to introduce you to my guest, Mr. Ian Jackson. Um, know him from grammar school days, high school days. Some of the guys that set the trail and the example for those of us who were coming behind to follow. Very good examples, I would say. But we'll deal with all that when we come back. Stay tuned, get your drink, and share the live in the meantime. And grab your seat. We're going to have a really entertaining conversation tonight. See you soon. All right, so we come back. I hope that gave you enough chance to pour your favorite beverage. It's Wednesday night, it's carnival season, so it is Stardom 10th night. You know, when we were growing up, we had to go to the band house, and in Castle Bruce, we used to follow Lapo Cabrit around the village to get a little jump before carnival. And nowadays, there are tents and all kind of other activities leading up to carnival that really enhances the season. Welcome to you, my regular listeners. Welcome back. As I say every week, I don't take your presence for granted. There's so many things that are competing for your attention, and I appreciate that you make this week in interview part of your weekly schedule. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Welcome to you, and I hope you like our conversation sufficiently. I hope we are able to stimulate you to think about things in a different way or from a different angle, and you get sufficiently enticed so you too can become a regular listener, regular viewer to this week in interview. If you listen to us on Nature Isle and DG Play Channel 59, RVR Jams, our radio carries this week in interview live on DG Play Channel 59. Good night to you. Are you getting ready for the 10th or you're skipping tonight? And of course, Radio SBE online in the Toronto market carries this week in interview live. Wherever you're listening to us, if you are on Instagram, or on TDN TV or Facebook, wherever it is, that if you can leave a like, share the live, and let folks know that what we do on here is we do great stuff. Our objective is to have the most informed and well-rounded listeners in online media. And so, without much further ado, let me bring my guest on. He's Mr. Ian Jackson, and he's a mix of a cultural icon, a marketing expert. He has his MBA, which specializes in marketing, an executive diploma in marketing, certificate in project management, and he is certified in drama and music. Now, that's more in line with why we have him here in his creative side. I remember since in grammar school, Ian was always involved in some kind of poetry or debate or some kind of activity like that. Also, sports. Um, you know, because when we went to grammar school, we were very, very competitive school. We used to kick the butts of those guys in SMA. I don't know if you have any SMA people listening, but it's all love. But he worked as a civil servant for a number of years, but also what most people know him as is his involvement in calypso. And I see my sister Angie Rowan is with us. Angie herself is a singer on the island of Anguilla. Yeah, Angie Ian is part of the culture. He wrote calypso. He still writes, and we'll get into that, into drama, his poetry. He's an author, and really a documentarian of the Dominican culture. He has one book under his belt, and he has also just started a new program on Q95 radio called Unearthing Culture. So we'll get to know about all of that so you can follow Ian and get more familiar with his work as we go along tonight. Let me tell you some of his accomplishments before I bring him on. He has 30 years as a weekly freelance artist, art columnist, and his Sun newspaper. He published magazine in Lyrics and Melody, a National Golden Drum Award for Culture and Literary Development in 2013, Creative Writing Fellow, University of Florida in 1996, a weekly host of the radio show Rhythm and Rhyme on Vibes Radio, founding member of the Dominica Writers Guild, author of 2 books of poetry entitled Of Thoughts, Confusing and Smile. A Fame Award recipient. Fame means Foundation of Artists, Musicians, and Entertainers. You're a Creative Fellow, University of Florida. A 10 years service as a board member of the National Cultural Council, president of Dominica's Calypso Association between 2001 and 2004. He's a functional music tutor, calypso judge locally, and he has also been a judge in Trinidad. Amazon Publications, spotlighting art, plays, and commentary. Composer of most winning competition songs in Dominica. He has 40 Christmas songs, junior and senior calypso, CBU. He'll tell us what CBU is. Oh, maybe I wouldn't. Locally and regionally, and he got a Meritorious Service Award in 2022. My brother, you've been busy. Have you? Flipping. But congratulations
Yeah,
on all this.
yeah. Thank you very much, Tony. I can see Tony.
Yeah.
Well, basically, the arts is my life, and it was something I was born with because my father was the first free pit king in Dominica. Free pit meaning they won the crown 3 times in
Mm,
63, 64, and 65. That is before the famous great breaker of Gaylord's Power Union actually won the crown. So my father won it 3 times. He was undefeated, and then he went to Canada. So I think
what was
being
his calypso name?
the idol,
The Idol. Okay.
yeah. So basically, he was a Vinci. I mean, he died some years ago, but he was a Vinci,
No, shout
and
out. We have a few Vinci fans on board here.
yeah. And
So,
when I
yeah.
went to St. Vincent for the first time, I found out that a plethora of family members were involved in the arts. So that's why I
Mm,
say it's hereditary. I had guys involved in pan, guys involved in painting. I had uncles involved that just passed away a few couple of years ago. Owen Ralph, for those Vinci listeners, they would know. Everybody know Owen Ralph and Roy Ralph. They were two. They were almost like the all how all in Bully was in Dominica. Basically, these guys are involved in painting and arts and so on, and they
mm,
were my uncles.
okay.
So yeah, so and there's also Pat Ralph, who died some years ago. She used to sing for a band in St. Vincent, and she was a diabetic, and she subsequently passed on. A younger
Mm,
person than me, but she was also very popular. And so I think it's something hereditary. So I've been doing that for, basically all my life. And it's like 50 years I'm doing it because right now I'm 61. And I remember the first time I won a competition Dominic was at 9 years. They call Kiddies Corner at what we call the parish hall in Dominica. So it's a
right.
long time for me, yes.
You've been performing since early one at nine, so that means
Nine
you've
years,
been performing
yes.
a long time ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
certainly.
And you still elbow deep and knee deep in the culture
Yeah,
and the performance in
certainly.
Dominica.
I do not perform Calypso again. I
Mm,
write because I found out that after from around 2000, when I was I took part in the competition. I was in the finals. I found out that there are other guys who were better gifted with voices than myself.
Right.
I think I was better at the composition and the creating the music around it, and so I stuck to that. So when the singers like the Dices and when Daddy Chess and so and Tasha P and so, who actually she's the only female queen in Dominica, and I was the one. I'm a writer also,
Mm-hmm.
Tasha P. And when those persons start coming in, I realized, hey, Jackson, you have to take a backseat because those guys really can sing, and you're not a big singer. You're just singing sufficiently enough to get you through to the finals. So I stuck to my strength. I stuck to my strength, which is writing and composition. Yeah.
Listen, man, getting to the finals is no mean feat, you know. Getting to
No,
the
yeah, it's
finals in Dominica is tough.
for real, for
Yeah,
real. In
yeah.
those days, we get us Hurricane, and those guys we had the Wizard. I sang with Wizard, and all those
NC,
guys,
yeah.
Ventura, some good guys were there.
Mm-hmm.
Even I even sang with NC.
Right.
So they were great guys in those times. Yes,
Levi Low Black.
yes, Divilo Black. Yes, yes, certainly double
You
L.
know, I
Double
wanted
L.
to say that those were the heydays, but I know, Calypso in Dominica is a very high standard,
Very
and
high.
we've been able to maintain that standard,
Hmm.
sustain it pretty much. Maybe a slight dip, but I think on a whole, on average, we've been able to maintain the
Yeah.
high standard in Dominica.
Hmm.
So folks, I hope you agree with me that the best person that we can get to talk about that aspect of Dominican culture is Mr. Ian Jackson, my guest tonight. So once again, a warm welcome to him. And tonight we're going to dive deep. So we will spread across wide, and
Hmm.
then we'll dive deep into a few areas, because I mean the
Right.
topics that we handle, the topics that we could be talking till tomorrow morning, and maybe you know. But
Yes.
I'm from Castle Bruce.
Right.
As a little boy in Castle Bruce, grew up. Carnival is approaching. You have a band
Hmm.
house. You used to have Mr. Sonny Alfred and Mr.
Hmm.
Luis. They have competing band house, almost like a camp. I mean, nowadays we call it
Hmm.
camp. And very early, while they're practicing, you would go to the different band. That determines who you're going to jump with in Carnival. Because at that time they had band Move. And if you don't
Right.
belong to that band and you come there in Carnival, you get
Hmm.
a cool fuet or cool baton or something.
Yep.
And so we I grew up in Castle Bruce, and then also being neighboring to the Kalinago territory.
Hmm.
Sometimes we would get visited on Carnival Day by the band from the Carib territory. They would come through beating their drums. Their drums would beat differently, um, and so with that experience, I started going to grammar school. I passed common entrance and went up to town to Roseau
Hmm.
and started experiencing carnival in Roseau. At the time, steel band music was the big hype at the time. You had
Right.
a number of bands on the road and so on,
Hmm.
and then the transition to electronic music and then
Yeah.
the bands and so on. So what I wanted to do, as somebody, I was a casual observer on the outside. You
Hmm.
were in there. Um, if you had to give us a little synopsis of like an overall view of of the progression of carnival, and where it fits in our culture, and how
Hmm.
we relate to it, how it defines us, and how over the years, as we can gauge how it moves along.
Okay.
If, I know that is broad, but if you can just talk about that kind of
Yeah,
aspect
no
for
problem.
a couple of minutes.
Well, Carnival in Dominica, as the rest of the Caribbean, is an event coming out from slavery or slavery past when you're called to celebrate or emancipation, and it came down as a tradition. But over time, Carnival has always been related to also things like stick fighting. And so you find that Carnival, even though we had Carnival and steel pan music, which was the only instrument created in the Caribbean over the past 200 years, as the only instrument came from the Caribbean, but it was always associated with, things like band movie and so forth
Hmm.
from Collier and so on,
Hmm.
and Black Devils and so on. So there's always a little violent part to Carnival in a certain respect, because you used to find gangs. I remember in my time growing up, there was Pottersville gang. There's also a gang in Newtown, and there's also Howlins and so on. And basically, when Carnival time come, that was the time guys used to have beef with each other, you know. And so that tradition has continued. Nobody really died or so, but basically, um, the mask was faced in those times, and the steel pan. That time we used to carry the steel pan around our necks and
Mm-hmm.
so on.
Right.
And it transitioned because after a certain time with the steel pan, people found that well you could actually standardize the steel pan. So we used to use the oil drums and create it. So when you have your personal oil drum playing your pattern of music, only you alone could play your oil drum because all the notes were different, and you were the only person who knew your notes on the steel pan until they
Interesting.
standardized it to chrome, and it was
Mm-hmm.
standardized and anybody could play any pan instrument just like you have a piano or guitar set the same way internationally. But
Mm-hmm.
that came down some years after because initially we started with groups like D Special, Fanta Pan,
I remember
Chocolate
that.
County Steel,
Yep.
and those bands. And we also had steel pan competition, so we had those things. And then we also had what we call masquerade. And the whole mask of masquerade that most people who reveled on the road had masks on their faces because on that day, the persona you took on a different persona. It was no longer Ian Jackson. It was no longer Anthony Drago. You represented something else. You were masked and you represented something else, and that gave you the impetus to get on bad in the
Yeah.
band because
Yeah.
nobody knew who was behind that mask.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you could do what you want. You could, and so on. Until after Ash Wednesday, everything Peter Dong and everybody probably identify who was that person and so on. But it so happened that in '63, when we had that serious fire, unfortunate fire in Dominica, um, I was born in '62, and I was told, and I did my research on that. My father was the king in that year in 1963, and they were playing mass on songs like Erica YII and so on. And at that time, somebody apparently, up no, they haven't found out who up to today. It's a mystery in Dominica. Someone actually threw some acid content into the band, aiming probably to injure one person. But because of what they had on, with the sensei costume, plastic, and show and everything, it caught fire and damaged a lot of people. A couple of persons died in that, including Eddie Mate, who was the best guitarist, or he was touted to be the best guitarist in the Caribbean. He's a Dominican and from the famous Mate family, who was a musical family in Dominica. We have Afi Mate is one of our top panists and so also involved in politics and so on and different things like that. So and agriculturist. So that Eddie Mate, I never really knew him. I heard of him because I
Mm-hmm.
played with his brother, which is Julie Mate, which is also touted as one of the best musicians in the Caribbean, not just in Dominica. Julie Mate played with players like Boo Hinkson of St. Lucia jazz fame. And at one
Mm-hmm.
time, it was said that Julie Mate was even better than Boo Hinkson. But of course, as usual in Dominica, we seem to always have a marketing issue. Because
Right.
you were saying earlier on, Drygo, that we have some of the best calypso, and that is true. That's a fact. I've been to the region. I've been to almost every country in the region where carnival takes place, and I've heard calypsos. And there are some guys in Dominica that are head and shoulders over what I'm hearing in the region. But nobody sometimes knows about them because we always have about that marketing issue. So
Right.
coming back to the pan situation, after this whole situation happened, you find that Dominica basically was not satisfied with just basically pan because Dominica is situated between Guadeloupe and Martinique. And the influences, the Creole influence was also very strong in Dominica. It has remained so up to today, strong Creole influence. So the idea of the taboo and the drums became a very integral part of our carnival. So slowly you find that another generation was being born and they gravitated to other things. And very soon you find that Dominica in 1972 gave birth to a music called Kadas music. At first it was referred to as Kadas Lipso. Actually, it was formed by accident when Gordon Henderson and a group of young men went to Martinique to play. They were asked to come to Martinique to play. They were from a group in Dominica already, and they joined Levy King and they came to Martinique to play. And they were playing at a festival. And they found out nobody was responding. No, Martinicans love to dance. Nobody was responding. So the promoter came to them. He was not satisfied. He said, gentlemen, you need to play something that the people can respond to. So the bass player and the Cookshank, who late Cookshank is now dead, basically he started doing something on the hi-hats, give a calypso rhythm. So while they were singing the same James Bond tunes, the same Toots and the Metal tune, while they were singing all kind of songs from America and so on at the time, which was popular in those days, Otis Redding and all those things, sitting at the dock of the day and all those kind of fancy songs, which everybody knew of on the radio. They realized in playing that rhythm and singing the same soulful calypso, people started moving from the bar slowly and holding their partners and started dancing. And they realized, wow, this music, this sort of rhythm appeals to the Martinicans. And hence, Cadas was formed in a very, lopsided way. Nobody really It was intended. Obviously, after a certain time, yes, Alvin. I see Alvin Thomas saying it was a very high standard.
Yep,
Good night,
definitely.
Alvin. Yeah, yes. And basically, during that time, you find that Exile when they came back to Dominica, they only now sat down as a group to formulate as to how they're going to do this Cadas movement. Now we had at that time hi-fi music began to make an entrance into Dominica in the 80s,
Right.
late 90s into 80s. And as such, now we had people like Wadi Kule, we had Scientific Rules, and all those
Scientific rules.
Synchronics,
Hmm.
and all those groups coming in. And as a result, now they were bantering with the steel pans, the few that were left at the time, and also bantering with what you call live bands on the road. Because you'd appreciate that the endurance of a hi-fi compared to human labor is chalk and cheese. So you
Right.
could play for the whole day, but a man have to take a rest, take his liquor drink. Those players on the road, they want to take a liquor drink,
You have to
you
tune
take a
up his
little boost,
guitar. You have to, yeah.
then take a little boost and so on.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah,
that
yeah.
basically, so the continuity and so forth, and people want to keep on jumping up. So the hi-fi, and not that alone, the guys invested money into those hi-fi. So the sound systems were really huge, and there was big sound coming in. Unlike the bands who were very from a poor background and did not have the sort of power on the road to compete with the hi-fi system. And as a result, the hi-fi took over for a number of years before some live semblance of bands started coming in. And that really happened, I can remember that really happened around 1988. That time, Mary Junior Charles was in power, and we were celebrating our 10th anniversary of independence in 1988. And Mary Junior Charles, I was one of those, fortunately, with Norman Later, and I think Carlton Wingston from First Serenade Band. We made a delegation to approach her as the band leader of RSB Band, Root Stems and Branches. We made a delegation to see her about the influx of bands like Burning Flames and Imagination Brass and those bands. 17 plus
17
from
plus.
from the USVI coming down to Dominica to play. They had a group called Nix Promotion, used to bring them down every year, basically take the money and go and leave, and our bands could not basically compete. And so a law was passed or regulation was passed to allow Dominican bands, at least for that year 1988, which was a big year, to bring in instruments free of duty at the customs,
Wow.
so we could compete. So as part of that delegation, I think Norman Later was now leader of Swinging Stars, and of course he was the customs man. He's the man at the helm of customs at that time. Okay, so and so basically that was how it began our competition. Slowly, bands started finding their way back. But prior to that, we had guys, we do not have a studio in Dominica. You know, and even just last night on my program, we were talking about that with Ken Robinson and also Mark Murray, who are the forerunners of studio music in Dominica.
Music in
Because all our
Dominica.
music basically from Trinidad. And when we wanted to record, we went to Barbados and Trinidad and Guadeloupe and Martinique. So Debs was a very popular spot for recording. And what they used to give us at the end of the day is just give us a few CDs. That was a CD type, records, vinyl,
Record. And
and
sometimes, yeah, and
cassettes. That
cassettes.
was like
Yeah.
existing the same, right?
Hmm.
And they used to give us a few, and we brought down and sell, and that was basically what we received. And as it and so groups like, for instance, Midnight Groovers were very popular. That was how they actually performed. And a lot of the studios in those days, it was one take. So basically, as a matter of fact, the first recording that was done in Dominica was with Chocolate County and Mark Murray, who's now Ophelia's husband. At the time when they were married. But as the first recording, where he did a recording and the whole steel pan had to play together. So there's no soundtracks. You had to play together. If one man make a mistake, you have to go and do the whole thing over again. Because there were no
Wow.
tracks in those days. Yeah, there were no tracks, basically soundtrack.
Hmm.
That's how recording was done in those days. And basically, we found that Dominica led the way in that, because when we checked the other islands like St. Lucia and so forth, people were coming from St. Lucia and so forth to come down to Dominica to record
To
with Mark
record.
Murray and Ken. So when they thought probably we were backward, we had some advancement, at least in the OECS. Maybe Jamaica and Trinidad were a bit more advanced, but in the OECS, people from the region came down to Dominica to ask Ken to record stuff. So Ken did his first recording with Sipo Mutai Corral and so on, and Dominica folk singers. And from there, they went on to record other groups. Steelpan, I also was in Phase 5 Steelpan, recorded RSB, recorded Cliff Hurricane, Jajak, and a number of others. Even the Calypso Association put on a compilation of a couple of cassettes, you know, during that time. And basically, there's a plethora of bands in Dominica. We had around 4 bands calling themselves Black Song. We had Black Machine, Black Roots, Black Affairs, and they came out Black
Black blood.
Black
Yeah,
again.
black blood.
Black Blood, right?
Yeah.
That's it. B Blood, Black Blood, right? I remember we had 4
Hmm.
B bands, kind of initials of Black in Dominica. Plus, on a whole, we had around 30 something bands in Dominica, you know,
30
and so
something bands.
yeah, 30 something bands during that
Yeah.
time, during that
Yeah.
80s, early
Lot of
80s.
music. A lot of
Lots
music.
of music. Dominica is a music capital of the Caribbean.
of the
Trust me,
Caribbean.
in those
Yeah.
times.
Mhm.
And all the bands were going to Guadalupe and Martin to record. So Ken Robinson said, no, 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 no. He has to do something about that. And he is a bass player and a guitarist also of the folk singers. So when he
Mhm.
came back, he's a guy that like to dabble in different things. If you knew Ken Robinson, and as
Yeah.
a result of that, he bought some equipment because he is also a businessman, and we don't even know how to operate them. He is seeking help, reading books and so on, and he found that he mastered the art of recording. Brought in guys like Radigan Roy, the late Radigan Roy is now dead,
Mhm.
and Mark Murray also because of her expert with Ophelia and overseeing Matic and Guadeloupe. Because Ophelia became the first woman in the Caribbean, really in English-speaking Caribbean, in the Caribbean generally, to be singing in front of a band because singing in front of a band was sort of something taboo for people. They used to see you as a low class person, or you can be singing in
Right.
front of a band, you know.
Mhm.
When I
Mhm.
saw Ophelia representing the things like I Dominic, you know, and her songs she was singing, you know what I mean? You know,
Massacre
Mashiko
from
Antilos and so,
Antilles.
and
Uh-huh.
so forth,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
These
Yep.
songs were songs of message and substance. And the people were stunned, you know, and she carried herself. She came in there as a married woman dressed in a Wop duet attire, and that thrilled the people. They say, wow. So she became the launching pad for persons like Joycelyn Beward, who enjoys a lot of prominence now in
With
Casablanca,
Casa.
and
Yeah.
some of the other persons.
Yeah.
Because the only person we heard doing that and they basically did albums was Wendy Allen, you know. I
Mhm.
just want to be
Spooge.
a
Yeah.
somebody
She's Spooge
Spooge.
from
And
Barbados.
Spooge was
Yeah.
really short-lived, yes.
Yep.
But for
Yep. Yep.
Barbados, and the short-lived, it didn't really last too long,
Mhm.
right? We have Spooge and Wendy Allen, Drayton Stu. Drayton Stu was probably the biggest proponents of Spooge in the time, you
Right.
know, but it didn't last very, very long, you know, the Spooge music. So
Spooge
basically,
was Spooge was something else. But anyway,
yeah, it
that's
was
a
something else.
different
There's a fast beat.
conversation. Yeah. Yep.
That's a kind of fast one kind of a drop
Houston
beat, you know,
Ivan.
just
Yeah.
kind of
Hmm.
almost reminiscent of the ska of Jamaica ska before
Exactly. Yeah.
reggae. You
Hmm.
know, it had something kind of a groove like that, and so on. And blend of voices. Remember the Draytons two had two guys who had a wonderful blend, you know. You
Right.
know, Hush Baby Do Cry and those songs that made
Hmm.
a big hit and made the impact. But
But but
Dominicans have
but
always been known.
in terms of iconic bands, we had Gaylord's Power Union.
Oh yes, yes.
Um,
Yeah, we had Galos as our first probably iconic band with Swing Stars, obviously. That's the
yeah.
foundation.
Yeah.
But after that, we had Boys and Them, where Philip Osford was involved in. And
Hmm.
then after the Caddis bands, we had a whole set. Bells Combo, Midnight Groovers, Black Affairs, you know. We had a whole set of bands coming through. Mamu from Salisbury, you know, all those bands played a very integral part, you know,
Black
and some of them
Affairs
didn't
from
record.
Marigot, Black Affairs, right?
Black Affairs from Marigot, yes, Black Affairs from
Yeah.
Marigot. They had a Haitian guy playing saxophone. Can't
Yeah.
remember his name right now, but he's playing saxophone. I can actually see him. And just yesterday, as a matter of fact, guys, incidentally, I was talking to Anthony Gossi, who
Hmm.
now lives in Paris, and he was one of the original founders of Black Affairs
Of
as a
Black
lead
Affairs.
vocalist.
Okay.
So songs like "I Mama," "C'est
Right.
Saudi mwe pou
Yeah.
so that was his compositions.
Right.
And even Angelo Allen, who's a radio personality, was a radio personality in Dominica, was also part of Black
Part of
Affairs
that.
later
Okay.
on.
Okay.
Yes.
What kind
And
of
so
woman you go make Camilla?
Camilla, yes. What kind of woman you gonna
The
make Camilla?
tremendous,
Right, exactly. And
tremendous
that
hit,
made a big
tremendous
hit.
hit.
Yeah,
And
they
you had
used it.
from
Cocoy.
Maho, you had Bells
Bells
Combo,
combo, big,
good
yes. You had
stuff.
Mao.
Yeah.
Bells combo. So
And then
all
the
the
schoolboys,
yes, man.
Grammar school and academy boys,
Yeah, well, it came later. Grammar School
It
and
came
Academy
later,
Boys,
right?
basically Gramax. That's how Gramax was formed.
Mm-hmm.
Gramax name came from Gram from Grammar School and Ax from Academy.
From academy,
And
right?
they came together and called for Gramax. That's how Gramax was formed. Some guys went to grammar school and some guys went to
Went to
SMA.
SMA, yeah.
And they
Uh,
came and formed Gramax.
you know,
As
I'm from Castlebruce, and then Breaker as
oh yeah,
well.
well, Greg Bricker, of course.
Greg
You know,
Breaker,
Greg Bricker brought up the great Slash Bannis in acting.
plus
Yes, and
exactly.
so
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, Breaker, boy, we do have that program at a very instrumental time because you wouldn't believe it. Only day before yesterday, I spoke to Breaker on the phone, and
Uh-huh.
he's going to be on my program. He's going to come to Dominica on the 27th. And this man is a man I haven't seen for many, 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 many moons. I mean,
That's
he performed at the Krill Festival in Dominica, and I did not really, I hadn't got a chance to talk to him.
uh-huh.
You know, I only knew him when I was a boy around maybe 11, 12. I saw him perform in the Windsor Park, doing his tumbling and, you know, and so on, his big afro in those
Yeah.
days and so on, bell bottom pants, you know.
He's just a superstar. I mean,
Yeah, the
just
superstar.
when you think of the humble beginnings of those guys and the level at which they were able
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
elevate their spirits and
Yes, yes,
get
yes,
people.
yes.
You just spoke about having him on your show. We're
Mhm.
right at the point where we would take a break. So what I want you to do is to tell folks about your brand new show that you have on
Right?
Q95. Yeah.
Mhm.
what time it is, the time of the title, and so
Okay, you
on.
want me to do that now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do that
Okay,
now.
yes. Okay, so every Tuesday from 6 to 8 is the fourth episode. Well, it's gonna be the fifth episode on next week Tuesday, and it's a new show called On Earth. Of course, it's on Q95 and Mr. G, Mr. Sheridan Gregoire as the manager. He saw wisdom in what I was saying, because right now in Dominican, and I guess the same thing happens for the Caribbean, that there's a plethora of number of persons actually doing talk shows which relate to politics. I said, "Oh, Mr. Gregoire, I want to look at East only politics, you know, man. There's so much happening other than politics." And so I've broadened the arts, not just people just going to talk about arts or talking about music or calypso. It's about music, it's about theater, which is drama. We deal with culinary arts also. But there's also a common component of literature. There must be a component of literature, and I always give a commentary. So I might start the show with a commentary. We'll have a couple of guests. We have live performances in the studio, like for instance, last night we had the junior calypso monarch, Thais, my TTT, was performing last night, and also the Bouillon monarch, the lady you spoke about there, Miss Simon, she's from Paybush, but she could not come because transportation, in Dominica is a distance to just come to do one song. So she actually did online with us, like we are doing here right now.
Right.
And she sang a song. She's a dynamic young lady, and she won the junior monarch. She actually beat Brooks to second place.
Mm.
Brooks was the more popular song, but she was also very good about Cut Them Off. She juxtaposed the idea that Domlek in Dominica was cutting off our lights. So the same way she wanted to be like Domlek and cut off friends that was not really good friends.
Wow.
So it was a wonderful composition, and the
It
way she
was.
brought it out. And hence, before we go to the break, I was telling some persons that we have to try and embrace the bouillon music, because the complaint in Dominica is that because of the bouillon music doesn't really carry much lyrics and it's nasty business, it's more call and what do you call it, chants. But the Junior Monarch proved to me, Drago, that we can employ positive lyrics like how Shelley is doing in Signal Band, and employ
Right.
positive lyrics as part of the bouillon. So that might be the way to go for the future. So I'll
So the
expound on
show
that.
on Earth is on Tuesdays at what
Yes,
time?
Tuesday 6 to
6
8
p.m.
p.m. Yes,
on
on
Q95.
Q95, right?
Right. You can find them online as well, listeners. If
Also
you
online,
live in
yes. You can go online also.
Definitely. All right. So we're going to take a quick break, get a word from the sponsors. And when we come back, I'm going to talk to Ian about Calypso. We're going to spend some time and talk about what he thinks about Calypso. And then we'll talk about what are some of the opportunities that we seem to be missing
Yeah.
to really create a vibrant and illustrious music industry in Dominica.
Mhm.
So stay tuned. Don't go. We'll be right back.
Presented by
The Dominica Cancer Society will join the global community in observing World Cancer Awareness Day on Sunday, 4th February 2024. The general public is invited to join members of the Dominica Cancer Society Rosa Support Group at the Kings Hill Baptist Church or the Northern Cancer Support Group at the Portsmouth Catholic Church for church services on Sunday, 4th February 2024. The theme for this year's observance is Closing the Care Gap. It speaks to all of us coming together collectively to close the gap that either prevents individuals from receiving timely diagnosis and treatment or delays treatment on account of economic or other social concerns. A message on the occasion is supposed to be released by the Minister of Health. We ask for the continued support of the general public in observing World Cancer Awareness Day by reaching out to someone who is affected by cancer and bringing hope through a message or through just lending a listening ear. We thank you. God bless you.
People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
How much Dominican history do you know? Want to learn some fun facts? We have a great and fun way to test your knowledge and learn more about our history. Get your copy of Dominic Anu, Dominica in Puzzle. Fun for the whole family. Available now on Amazon.com. Visit pushpast10.com to learn more. Email us at dominicainpuzzle@gmail.com or call 877-698-9894. Looking to promote your business, engage current customers, and reach new people? Well, look no further. From the basic presentation to a fully fledged advertisement, use your video ads to attract customers. At Man's Audiovisual Productions, we do just that. We produce videos for business and event promotions, product demo videos, animated explainer videos, fundraiser ads, and much, much more. Engage your clients and sell online. We customize the video to match your brand design. Guaranteed to play flawless on all devices, including smart TVs. Contact us at telephone number 203-690-4342 or 767-245-6238. Visit our website, mansaudiovisual.com, or email us at derekvideo@gmail.com.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, and thank you so much to our sponsors. Man's Audio Visual, they can do from your basic flyers all the way to live streaming your events, funerals, weddings, and so on. Very professional service that you receive from Man's Audio Visual. So check them out, Derek and David and the Fern and the family. Good evening to you. There's a puzzle book by members, closely associated with the TDN. It's not a TDN project, but the members of the TDN family put it together. It's a crossword puzzle book on aspects of Dominica. So while you learn about Dominica, while you teach your kids about Dominica, you do it in a fun way. Or your co-workers talk about the different rivers and different aspects of history. Beacon Dental Group again. I always tell you every week, if you go to Beacon Dental for the first time and you tell them that Anthony Drago sent you, you get a free cleaning on your first trip out there. So take me on. Nobody has asked me to pay any bills for anybody when I go there. So if you go there and you just tell them that, Anthony Drago said I can get a free cleaning because it's my first time there, I can guarantee you will get, and the service will be so that you receive will really be, it's really out of this world, state of the art um, service. I live in New York City and I drive to Boston for my dental care. That should tell you that they do good service, and of course, Sunday being World Cancer Day, I think um, if you are more than 5 years old, you have been touched by cancer, whether someone in your immediate family or a family friend or co-worker or something. So on that day, reach out to somebody, give them some encouragement to continue doing what they do so they can stay cancer free. And if there are folks who are battling currently, give them some courage to continue fighting this demon that is called cancer. So tonight, folks, my guest is Mr. Ian Jackson. He describes himself as a cultural enthusiast. I just know him as a cultural icon. He's received many accolades and awards for his work. He has written books. He one book and then a couple books of poetry that you can check out. Ian will tell us how we can get his books. If maybe I think they're available on Amazon, but I will he will clarify that. And he gave us a really nice um, fly over the Dominican landscape from as far back as the 60s up to modern times in terms of the evolution of our music. So I'm going to lean a little bit on, his involvement in calypso. He has been a writer of calypso for many decades now, and very successfully. So a number of the songs that has written has won, including writing for the next generation of senior calypsonians. Ian, if you had to give a grade to Dominica's ability to sustain the calypso art form, would you give them an A?
Yes, and the reason for that is because in the region which I have prowled around, I mean, I went to St. Lucie before last, for instance, because I told you my old man and I have a lot of family there. And I went to the Calypso show in St. Vincent, and I could hardly fill the park with 1,000 people. The Soca Monarch competition, 10,000 Vinces in the park. And the same thing applies to almost every other country in the Caribbean where soca has taken over. We don't really have a soca problem in Dominica. We have a bouillon situation in Dominica. Because of our French connection, we have adapted another type of genre of music called the bouillon. However, we are still the last bastions of calypso in the Caribbean. And for more reasons than one, not just because we still participate and lyrics and melody still means a lot to us in terms of championing the cause of the working class people, but also for the fact that in terms of administratively, Dominica Calypso Association, the DCA, is the only calypso association in the region which runs its own affair. Even the Great Trinidad, the government pays the prices and so forth. So they have a DFC, a cultural committee or whatever set up by the government that does that. And the association represents like a union. But we in Dominica, we have our own building. In fact, I think we are the only country in the OECS that has its own building. We have a building of our own where we rent out to have weddings and different activities and so on. And a house, a Calypso house, which other countries don't have. We also can house people there because we have rooms where people can stay there. So if we invite a guest to come down to sing or to perform, they can stay at our Calypso house.
Wow, that's awesome.
Other countries don't have, and we rent the facilities of the park and the stadium for our shows, and we pay the government something for that, which is the DFC recognized by the Dominica Festivals Commission. So we, in terms of administratively, and also because we keep on singing the issues, we do not have that situation where soca has become a dominant factor in our music. Bouillon is becoming, and that is why before we left for the break, I say we must find a way to embrace bouillon music, because we'll not be saying the same thing as I'm saying today. In the next 5 years, bouillon will certainly, and the reason why I'm saying that is because when Dice came in, he came in from the bouillon era, of course, but he's a calypsonian because his writer, Pat Aaron, prolific writer in Dominica. In fact, one of the guys I admire a lot in Dominica. And he has been, as a veteran, as a guy, elderly guy, he has been introducing guys Dice to the sort of calypso, the true calypso rhythms and so on. So he has adapted, Dice has adapted to that. So there's not too much bouillon element in his music, except when he goes to record. Of course, Cornell Phillip, one of our leading musicians in Dominica, who actually is accredited to have started bouillon music with the WCK band, right? We Not Caribbean Culture Band. He infuses some elements, and that's natural, when he does his recordings into the bouillon stuff. Right. But we have our king right now, King Trilogy, who came in last year as a surprise, straight from the bouillon stage, and is Dominica's Calypso King. his drive and his energy. And this year again, he looks like to be on a coalition course together with the Dice, which is a 9-time king in Dominica. Now, being is a 9-time king, one of the things that he's known, because Chuck Dust is a 9-time king in Trinidad, and we all know Chuck Dust. And that is where we need to go for Calypso. We have not seen or have not taken time off either for the private sector or government in terms of assistance, because really when the gate receipt comes, the Calypso King gets $20,000, and that's been happening for a number of years now. Probably around 10 years that has been the price. That's stuck at $20,000. Our population in Dominica basically is on the decrease, and economic viability all over the world has been dwindling. And as a result of that, merchants and so on must come in and assist. There's a myth in Dominica that Calypso makes money. So as a result, a merchant may want to sponsor a queen and even get less leverage from the queen.
Right.
The apathetic towards a queen than a king. So if you come to and say you want to do an album, the merchant might give you a lot of problem. But to sponsor a queen to come on stage, and that's why I think Breaker made a song some years ago in the 60s when he said, when the queen winds she tail in the Windsor Park, prices like hell she got for that. But if the prices don't improve for the coming years, no more steel band, no more Calypso.
Wow.
That was done around almost 50 years ago.
Wow.
Basically, it's still ranged true today because they still had that problem during those times about people giving the queens monies easily. I think a queen right now is sponsored anything around $12,000 a merchant. But a merchant will find it difficult to pour a $5,000 or $4,000 into a Calypsonian or into the Calypso Association for that fact. So that is one of the problems that we basically facing. Other than that, our Calypso, our songs have been very elevated over the years. Very good songs, very big songs in terms of the content and what is being written. What I fear right now is that there's a dearth of writers, I think. So a lot of work is left for a person like myself. I might write for several Calypso, and Pat Aaron, Tim Nura does a few writing too. I was happy to see that guy like Shelley of Signal Band, who I taught at school incidentally, and he's a very good writer. He's a Harvard graduate, and so being a Harvard graduate, he sees it in a different light.
Okay.
Yes, he sees it in a different light. In other words, his lyrics are more profound, and than most of the other guys that would write lyrics and so on. And also the king himself is a budding writer. He's just around 22, 23 years, but you can see he has skill. He has a natural skill of writing. If his song this year, when you talk about nasty business, there has been a cry in Dominica about that the songs that have been aired on the radio and on buses and so on is strictly nasty business. There's no content. There's very derogatory comments about women and talking about private parts. So he took that phrase, nasty business, and said, okay, you all guys say we're singing nasty business. But when the government do this and government do that, isn't that also nasty business?
Nasty business.
So
that is nasty business.
And that's a beautiful piece of writing the way he brought it across.
Right.
So all those little things there. So we still do that because we recognize that Calypso, when you cannot speak, when a poor man cannot speak, that is still the stage of the poor man.
Right.
And I think the Calypsonians take it very seriously. So even when I went to the semifinals this year, last weekend, that I find the crowd was still an appreciable crowd. The quarterfinals were not all that. I understand they had a show in Portsmouth, our second town, and as a result, the Triple K band was playing, and they have a following. So most of the young people gravitated over there. Hence why I'm saying, Drago, we must find a way as from next year to merge Calypso as we know it, and we might form a hybrid called Buyolipso. So be it. But that is something we have to try and get the young people involved in the music, and you cannot isolate them. Because some years ago, Calypso could not be challenged. When you have a Calypso show, you better don't have any other show in Dominica.
Right.
Today, you're having a Calypso show. The young people having their show here. They have their show in the Harlem area, in Newtown area. They have their show in Pottersville. They have their show over there. And everybody gets their crowd. And the Calypso crowd dwindles. So Calypso now, the Calypso president, as I spoke to Observer, we have a very good rapper. I was telling him, you have to find a way that even for intermission time, have WCK to play in the Calypso finals, or when the judge's decision is being, organized, have them to play. So many people feel that we are bringing you all guys in. So even though you get a couple hundred young people come just to see WCK play or to see Signal Band play, that would actually help.
Asa or somebody. Yeah.
Or Asa or something, right.
Yeah.
That will also help to boost sales and make Calypso survive for a few more years. But if you have to leave it as it is there, you'll find that very much will come just like the other islands. But I appreciate the fact that, as you say, that's why I give us an A, because we have remained, despite dwindling resources and hardly any resources at all, that Calypsonians have still risen. We have a lot of ladies coming. This year, again, we had a couple of ladies coming to the Calypso. Every year there's always a couple of new guys, you know, and it's nice to see some young guys. I mean, Mighty D, Trilogy, you know, and so on into the Calypso, some young ladies into the Calypso, and that is good for the art form. And then the Leo Club has playing a vital role in that they are providing a nursery, you know, for young persons to come to the force. So that looks very good.
In terms of the Junior Monarch.
Junior Monarch, yes.
Okay, so I don't want you to. I'm not going to ask you to pick favorites. I want you to answer me almost like from a technical point of view.
Yeah, no problem.
Which are your like one or two or three favorite calypsos in terms of the style of writing? You know, as a writer, as a composer. So I mean, you're not predicting who's going to win the crown.
No, I know, understand that.
You're just talking about in terms of when you look at
and
it.
I also commented, so I have to be very cautious how I do that.
Exactly.
So what I'd say is that Liberator, in the quarterfinals, I got the results that he placed number 17, and I was live on air talking about this song to me a bit ridiculous at number 17. He has an international commentary, and Liberator came back from basically being in the States and being in the Virgin Islands, I think, and he came back, I think he came back with a bang. He always has a very clear voice, profound, and he performs the song well, and the song has international reach in time. And we're talking about the times we live in time when you have Ukraine and so fighting war, and Russia, and all those things happening in the Middle East right now, you know, Gaza and so on, and he sort of brought those things to the fore. Right. So he wasn't hitting the Dominican situation, the politics. He brought his songs broader than that. I think that flew over some people's head. But that's a very good song with a very good beat. So I think he's a guy one should look for. I don't know what the second song would sound like, but on a first round basis, he's a guy one should look for.
Casibus guys just know how to do it, man. That's all.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yes, so that's a Casibus man for real. Yes, Casibus man. You know, right. And I love Joy Stout's song. I find it's different. She's one of the few women who sings about change. I find in this year's Calypso, we have songs being sung about as if trying to inspire hope in people. I don't find this year there's much songs that really bashing the government or bashing the system.
People looking for
there's more songs inspiring hope. Time for change, you know what I mean? Change. Let's look inward at ourselves, see what we can do. Observers unfortunate to have fallen with his song. I mean, in spite of it all, I think it's a beautiful song. I think the judges missed the beat on that one. In spite of it all, I think it should be there. But those two songs in particular, Dice is also, you can never rule out the Dice with Wanted. You know, and Dice is a great performer. Yes, Wanted being used as a metaphor for a man being hounded for his beliefs and and the opinions he shares and so. And so that can be a very big song. And I really believe that this is Calypso. We will still have it between Dice and the Raisin King trilogy. That is my prediction.
That's your prediction. Yeah. Thank you for that. You know, I like that type of conversation because sometimes we get caught up in the beat or we get caught up in our favorite Calypsonian and whatnot. But breaking it down like that, people understand a little bit as to, you know, how to analyze the art form. Because to get the Calypso to survive the way we want it to survive, we have to have a population that is intelligent about Calypso, that understands what a good Calypso is and that sort of thing.
Hence, that is why this year I'm calling for, I mentioned I'm calling for the judges, not just workshops alone. I don't think they have enough workshops. Maybe one workshop every 2 years, a workshop is being held. And there are judges who have been there perennially. They have been there for 15, 16, 17 years. I think after you have judged for a few years, 5, 6, 7 years, really and truly, the same Calypsonians are coming back. You begin to have favorites. And the human nature is that you tend to gravitate towards a particular Calypsonian, or maybe even his particular style, or maybe politics may actually, you know, skew you to make certain comments in terms of on paper. Another thing I also suggest to the Calypso Association which should happen is that they should have ranges, or Calypso system doesn't have ranges. So for instance, 35 points for melody, 35 points for lyrics. If you find, because I judge in Trinidad and it's different, if a song is very good in Trinidad, they will tell you, you must rate the person between 30 and 35. In Dominica, somebody's good, a hard judge good can be 20. And you see the problem already.
Right.
So they have not provided a range that you must rate the person based on how you find the song.
Right.
So ranges has not been introduced, and I'm suggesting them to them next year that a range, at least will get more, you know, more equality in terms of the scoring. People have been so ridiculous with their points. 20, somebody read somebody that's 22 they find the song is very good, and that person have 34 because it's very good. That's too much a wide gap. Right. There must be a range where you insert the persons if you find they are good, very good, or poor.
Right.
And you read them accordingly.
And you read them within that band. Yeah.
For sure.
So does the Calypso Association have like a post-mortem where ideas like that and suggestions from the public and from other people can
It's
be
not
taken into account?
frequent. It's not frequent, to be very frank. It's not frequent. You know, Calypsonians, and it's a bad thing about us in Dominica that we are only concerned in things that only affecting us. So, for instance, you get your 5 minutes on stage, you maybe get paid after the season, and they don't see you again until after next
Until
year.
next season.
Yes, so
Somebody's
yeah.
asking you to repeat what element of the calypso receives the most points, maximum points.
Oh, it is like that. Lyrics 35 points, melody 35, rendition 20, and presentation 10 for a total
Mm,
of 100 points. Of course, with lyrics, we have things like compatibility and so forth, other subgroupings. But the
right.
broad grouping is lyrics, and like for melody, you have about intonation and blah, 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 and so on. But it's basically
Okay.
35, 45, 20, and 10.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Thank you for that.
yeah, man.
I saw the Christmas is saying that the judges seem to be not interested in the lyrical content of artists such as Liberator and Beno,
Mhm.
so they get snubbed during the final competition. So unfortunate.
Well, yes, because Calypso has been a music that actually has chastised leaders.
Right.
We used to laugh at our slave masters and so on. So that tradition has continued. So for many persons, if it doesn't really hit home, I don't know if that caller remembers that when NC had certain songs, NC had said how to clean up your backyard first.
Hmm.
I think he had throughout all kinds and say, oh, don't want to talk about so and so and so. When Super talk about things like Fight Them and John,
Hmm.
and what's that, Junkyard Dog and all those things they had doing. So he said, oh, why sing about those things? Then people can't hear us at all. Let's sing about the issues that affecting us.
All right.
So what another cousin say, oh, what are you talking about Gaza for? Gaza doesn't affect us. We understand about what Scary does, what Linton does, what that does, what
Right.
this man does, and so you find a judge being human might be sitting down there, and if something affects him, he might score accordingly, and that's part of the problem.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so it says that the calypso industry has to be analyzed because we
Yes.
run out of time, and I know I'm indulging you on a Wednesday,
No
but
problem.
we have so much music in Dominica. You talk
Mhm.
about a time when we had 36 bands.
Right.
We talk about having in the OECS the most advanced recording facilities once upon a time.
Yes. One time. Mhm.
We listen to music around the region, Grenada, St. Vincent, and so on, and we hear Dominican rhythm strong in those songs.
Mhm.
Our bouillon rhythms and otherwise. We have stories about even soca being
Yes.
birthed in Dominica.
Certainly.
What are the challenges that have proved so insurmountable over the years that has not allowed a music industry to blossom in Dominica?
We coming together, I'll just say briefly, because I have tried to put, for instance, composers like myself, we have difficulties about payment and different things, royalties and so forth. I've tried to get composers together. It's difficult to get them. I called a meeting once and I got 2 guys to come, and various guys are writing songs. So that's part of our problem. Organization is our problem. So we do not take our music. We are very talented in Dominica, but we are not business savvy.
Like business savvy.
And that's basically in a nutshell as we come down to the end. That's basically what I'd say. We're not business savvy to get things to happen. So we're happy about the 5 minutes of fame. A young man who learned to play his guitar and he sings a couple of songs. People tell me hot. Little girls are flocking around, and he forgets about he has to take care of his family when he reaches 40, 45, because he'll never always be a youth. So now he's
Right.
enjoying the fact that he's popular now and forgetting about the business of the music, his royalties, and how to, organize himself for him to take care of his future later on down the line. So that's the problem. Organization.
So how do we tackle that?
Schools. We have to start from the schools. We have to bring back the music in the schools. Right now, the school which I teach is St. Mary's Academy. We have no more pan happening there. I try to bring back drama and so on, which I'm doing right now, but I'm leaving very soon. So basically, somebody have to pick up the mantle in that respect. We
So
have to start that in the
it should
schools.
really become part of the official curriculum.
Curriculum, yes, it should be. It should be, because guys play music around first form, second form, and after that, basically leave them alone. But they have not been taught the business of music and so forth. They might teach them to play a little thing on the guitar or whatever. And after that, that's basically it. So they just see it as fun. They don't see a relationship between the music they play and the future in the music. They just see it as a pastime, enjoyment.
Right.
But they
Folks
don't
don't
see
see
it
it
in professional, right?
as a viable
Exactly.
career or
Alternative,
profession.
yes.
And so you're
Profession,
saying
right?
bringing
Yes.
it into the schools and
Yes,
teaching
it's
it
very,
from.
very important.
I remember when I was in grammar school, chalk dust had come down and kept a little
Yes,
quick workshop
yes,
with us
I know.
one
Yeah.
time, and different, different. And in that, I guess we need to commend Shirley
Oh yes, Shell and the Signal Band,
and
yes.
his Signal Bandit, and he did it
Benji,
together with Trilogy, and they had
Trilogy, yes, yes,
a
yes,
camp
yes.
for young people. I think that
Oh
was
yes, so that was very good. The writing thing, yeah, I commend
mhm,
that. That was very good, excellent. Yeah, training the next generation. I do that too sometimes because I do a workshop also at the Calypso House where I teach music, functional music during the summer, and that has been
nice.
well attended, in the past. So I trust that I can continue doing that.
Tell folks where they can find your work. You say you have books of poetry, you have
Okay, my books of poetry will not be found because that was done some time ago. But you can find my latest production on Amazon right now.
mhm,
It's called Spotlight in the Arts. If you just go on Google Spotlight in the Arts, Ian Jackson, you'll see it there available and you can go through the procedure and get your copy. Spotlight in the Arts. And you talk
Spotlight
about
in the
all,
Arts on
yes, and we did
Amazon.
about a whole set of arts in Dominica that has been happening over the past, I think I covered some 20 to 30 years, you know, in different
Right.
forms. I choose out some of my best writings and I put them in a booklet. As a matter of fact, a number of school children have sourced me out to do it for their SBAs and to
Mhm.
do certain topics about calypsos and different things. And I've made it available for them to look at.
So awesome, folks. I say it all the time. Being the host of this weekend interview allows me the opportunity to speak with folks who have done so much and who have accomplished so much. And tonight is no exception. I on a Wednesday night, I don't know any other setting that I would have, the full attention of cultural icon as Ian Jackson, talking to me for an hour about our culture, about our carnival, about our calypso, and I think we got just a little glimpse into the rich source of knowledge that this gentleman is, and he's been recognized and he's been awarded, and I want to say thank you to him for his service that he
Yeah,
continues
thank
to
you.
do on behalf of all of us in Dominica and in the Caribbean. Folks, I encourage you, as I always do, to support our own. His book is on Amazon, so go there, make a purchase.
Mhm.
By the way, last week we had Dr. Triffy on, and we promised her that as a result of she being on the show, that we wanted to have 20 books sold during the week. I haven't contacted her to find out if we succeeded, but I hope you guys didn't let me down. Not only is her book useful, but it's good to support. Good support. So I want to do the same thing. I want to encourage you to go on Amazon and find Ian's book.
Yeah.
Spotlight is what Spotlight on
Spotlighting the arts.
Spotlighting the Art.
Yeah.
Spotlighting the Art by Ian Jackson on Amazon. Go on there, show him some love and
Mhm.
appreciation for coming and sharing his knowledge with us. Ian, I look forward to having you back. I wish you all the success on your new show called
Yes.
On
On
Earth,
earth,
which is at
right?
6 p.m. on Q95
Mhm.
FM and online. I'm going to give you the opportunity to say a final words.
Okay, well, it was really nice, Anthony, and to reaching out to me, Eloise, and I think I can remember her now when she contacted me. And
Mhm.
this is really nice, when our Dominican people can meet and do good things, And I really appreciate. I see my role as to prepare next generation because I know I'll never always be there, and I'm always ready to pass on. No matter who speaks to me, people ask me for a lot of interviews or information, I just freely give it. I never ask for anything in return. I'm really happy to have been part of the program tonight. Blessings, man.
Thank you. Didi
Yes.
says, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Put it back
All
up
right.
this
Yes.
time.
Thanks.
Didi
Yes.
says, the junior. Oh, I cannot read some comments though, but let me just
Junior
scroll down
Monarch.
a little. Thanks, Mr. Jackson, for this very informative and insightful
Thankful discussion. Yes. Yes.
discussion.
Yeah.
Alvin Thomas said the key preparing the next generation.
Yes, sir.
Somebody say another great program, great job. Thank you very much, fans. I have some folks. Yeah, this is our 14th year of doing this weekend interview,
Okay. Great.
and I have some folks who come back every week for
Yeah,
the
man.
last 10 years at least. And this is why we do it. We bring contemporary topics and we do it
Hmm.
from a different angle, and we just educate our folks. And before I let you go, one last thing. Lofty says very educational. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well said. The seniors have the responsibility of preparing the
For
next
next
generation. I want to
generation.
tell you congratulations.
Yeah,
Ian's
man.
daughter, Jenny, I hope I'm saying that right. Jenny was
Yeah.
called to the bar
Yes.
yesterday. So it's always
Yes.
good to
Right.
see our next generation carry on. So thank you
Mhm.
and congratulations to young lady. Pass
Yeah,
on
man. I'll pass on the
our
information.
good wishes for a very long and illustrious career.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Anthony, and thanks for having me.
thank you so
Good,
much, man, and enjoy the
good night,
carnival
guys.
season.
Yeah, man. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. All right, listeners, there you have it. Another great program, another demonstration of how fortunate I am to be the host of this weekend interview. I get to learn so much. I get to talk to really awesome people who have done so much. Um, Ian Jackson, like I said, I know him from grammar school, and he has never stopped, always been on the forefront of the arts and entertainment and culture in Dominica, setting a great example for someone who can have a full life and still contribute. So, folks, I want to say good night. This has been episode 3 of season 14 of this week in interview. Next week, we're going to continue with the same genre, maybe go a little deeper and focus on Calypso because it'll be right before the Calypso competition. So we will continue with that. But in the meantime, get Ian's book, get Dr. Triffy's book. Let us support our own. Let us definitely start to use our products as gifts. Carnival is coming. Order your smoked meat from Wayland. If you have an event, go to Man's audio visual, get them to do your flyers for you. If you have something to stream or to record, they will show up and with a crew, very professional in their uniforms and give you a good job. So good night, folks. Lofty, all the best. I guess I will see you on a Sunday on Civic Vibes. So looking forward to your guests and who you have on Sunday. And just a reminder, on a Tuesday night on Q95 at 6 p.m., Ian has his show on Earth. So patronize him. So good night, everyone. And we'll see you again next week, Wednesday. Thank you to my crew and my team for making programs like this the success that they are. Good night.